What's a clear sign that someone was raised well? How they treat someone they cannot benefit from. Edit, thanks for the gold, stranger. My first one. Now what do? So many people are trying to climb a ladder. When they find out you on a lower rung, they change how they are to you. What's funny, in the big picture, is that there really isn't a ladder. You are just climbing over a pile of people to get nowhere. Last week I was playing in the park with my son and this kid was hovering around us, very obviously interested in the sand toys we brought with us. I asked him if he wanted to play with us and he said, I have to go ask my mom first. It sounds simple, but with that short response you can tell his parents taught him not only to respect other people's things but also to look out for his personal safety. The kid was 5, that's a well-raised kid. They help others save face, which includes subtle assistance when someone looks socially uncomfortable or has done something that is socially awkward. This also includes moving back to allow someone to enter a circle when there is a group of people talking. Nobody should be having to look over others' shoulders in a conversation. 0. Something that stands out to me is when a child is actually bothered just by seeing another child misbehave. That's how you know they're doing well. Please and thank you. Seriously, most of the time when someone says those two things they tend to just be really nice and respectful in general. Please fuck off. Thank you. You disagree on something and they calmly discuss it with you instead of having a breakdown and getting the cops called on them. This seems awful specific. I used to be a social worker. He or she can admit to being wrong about something and laugh about it. Edit, and giving strangers internet gold. That's also a clear sign. On the flip side, when the person they're talking to admits that they're wrong, and the person who's correct doesn't rub it in their face. A more subtle one, but very tied to good education, they try to understand the other side of the argument. When they don't just say, well, he does that because he's a moron, but instead say, well, if he thinks that and that, I can see why he would do that, even if I wouldn't. It's even double nice, because it's the kind of people with whom you can actually argue. They'll try to explain their argument but won't dismiss yours, and will respect your opinion enough to not try to convince you at all cost. My mom always taught me as a kid that there was a difference between good argument and bad argument, and always encouraged good argument, even if it was me arguing with her about punishments she gave me, etc. A good argument was basically articulating your feelings without yelling or calling names or being mean, but also having to hear the other person's perspective, and not getting upset if they don't agree with you. Man, I have such a wonderful mom. I don't take the time to acknowledge that enough. I owe every good part of who I am to her. When someone is obviously in the wrong, and they know it, they apologize and work towards not making a mistake like that again. Most people will deny it until the other person gives up, or get all defensive about how it was not a big deal. They're polite to service personnel. If you want to know what a man's like, look at how he treats his inferiors. Sirius Black. Meanwhile treats house elf like shit. D. As a teacher, kids who say hello when they come in your classroom. And kids who say thank you. And kids who say excuse me. When they don't rape people behind dumpsters. Edit, really wasn't expecting to get gold, or even upvotes from this. Thank you, kind strangers. When they look for ways to be helpful. Bonus if it takes them out of their own way, and even more bonus if they don't mention it afterwards. Basically, humble kindness. They chew with their mouth closed and don't make gnarly eating sounds. They are compassionate to those who are struggling without being patronizing. They'll just give a homeless person a blanket and a sack lunch without fucking bragging about it to everyone and tallying up all their smarmy karma points. My twins gave their Chuck E. Cheese tickets to some smaller kids the other day. The big mouse came out and threw tickets in the air and all the kids had to scramble to pick them up. The big kids, mine are 5-year-old, all got a bunch while the littles got none. My kids just walked up to the small kids and said, "Here you go." Choked me up. I love when my kids are chill like that. I work in a grocery store. Properly raised children wait their turn. They don't expect to be looked at or fawned over just because they exist. They don't feel entitled to get everything they want exactly when they want it. Adults who weren't raised that way act worse in public than well-behaved 3-year-olds. Being polite in disappointment and listening to other people are both good indicators. Kids who say please and thank you. It's music to my ears. I brought my 3-year-old nephew a new toy yesterday. He was so happy. He looked up at me and said, "Thank you, Auntie Danny." This kid is 3. He said thank you without even being prompted. There is honestly no excuse for a child to be impolite. There's a big difference between being a shy person and being a rude person. Parents need to be familiar with this difference and stop making excuses for rude kids. The same applies to adults too. I work in a place with so many clever engineers. Honestly, they can put together so many wires in such complex machinery, yet they don't know how to say thank you when you hold a door open for them. Generosity, good manners, good hygiene. They poop on the floor. In high school I was playing golf at a really nice country club that a friend mine family is a part of. I held the door for an old lady and she was taken aback by it. She said, "Son, you must not be a member because I haven't had a young gentleman hold the door for me in years." She ended up paying for our meal. I was shocked by the idea of a Texan/somewhat southern country club and people did hold the door. My grandma would make me get a switch if she heard I didn't. Calm, confident, willing to learn, willing to get stuck in. Doesn't have much an ego, can stand out but doesn't strive to do so. Can argue without being insulting, can concede points but also defend them. Has independence and critical thinking skills. I've seen people that lack these skills and then met their parents. Really lets you see why someone could be a mess with no self-confidence and wildly emotional at times. The use of a blinker when driving. I'm gonna go one step further and say they try to make life easier for other drivers. They see you coming faster in the passing lane. They slow down and wait for you to pass them before passing that truck, instead of passing it right away and forcing you to brake. They see that you're in a hurry and stuck behind them. They do one more turn on that roundabout so you can pass them and speed. When they know how to do shit around the house. Like fix something that is broken, take care of a plant or cook a nice meal. Integrity. When they don't try to make fun of somebody's situation but instead try to sympathize/empathize. When they don't treat restaurant employees like garbage. When I have kids, I want them to work at least 3 months in a restaurant so they know what servers, hosts, cooks, managers, and all the other people who work in the industry go through on a regular basis. Oh dear Lord, don't put them through that. Just ensure them that it's success. Earlier tonight, this morning, I saw a lady bitch out a McDonald's cashier for forgetting her ketchup packets. I need to make sure that my kids never do that to anyone. Conversational ability, got to speak at career day for my 8th grader. Had the pleasure of having a 5-minute conversation between classes with one of his classmates who I'd never met. She interacted with me like an adult using complete sentences, eye contact, and questions. You're talking about a 13 years old. Aren't they supposed to talk in complete sentences? Manners and patience. They put a stop to, rather than join in with, workplace bullying. They can form their own opinion, independent of that of their parents. They understand that other people's money and time have value. Respect for teachers. I'm in high school right now and the amount of disrespect I see towards teachers is horrible. If you see a student that respects his teacher, you know they were raised right. They have a variety of coping skills. They cook their own meals. They do their own laundry. They don't panic when they get lost. They take off their shoes, or at least ask, when they enter someone else's house. I was astounded when I moved to America that this isn't a thing. I grew up in England, and in my area at least it was normal to walk in, take shoes off. I was raised this way. People come into my house after I vacuum and leave their shoes on, and I have that seal meme face. They treat everyone like a human, always shows respect no matter what that person's position in life is, and even if that person acts rudely towards them. They're courteous, polite, kind, clean up after themselves, but most importantly, they close their mouth when they chew, and keep chewing noise to a minimum. They upvote the posts and comments they respond to. They are very considerate to others. They know how to make guests feel welcome, comfortable and relaxed when invited to their home. They mind their P's and Q's, and they aren't rude to customer service/wait staff. Kids are of course, highly impressionable. If their parents act like assholes in public, they probably will too. Kiss off mate, hanging with me spewed. Getting up for pregnant or older people in public transit if there aren't any seats left. I thought everybody did this, but I can't tell you how many times I was the only person to offer my seat while like, an older person who worked all day as a food court janitor can barely stand. It pisses me off how often no one gets up in a store and decide you don't want something, returning it to the proper location. They say thanks every time you hand them something, even if they are the one that are doing you a favor. It drives me so mad. Like, she'll borrow a pen from me, and I'll say thanks when she hands it back. And she'll be what? No. I'm the one that is thankful. Or we finish eating, she'll ask if I can put her plate in the dishwasher, and I'll say thanks when she gives it to me. I just do it without thinking. Every time someone puts something in my hands, I say thanks. Her, on the other hand, has a problem with please. She says it all the time. Hey, do you want some water? Yes, please. Do you want me to drive you to work today? Yes, please. Do you want fries with that order? Yes, please. You're supposed to say it when you're the one asking, but she says it every time someone proposes to do something for her. I like the saying please in those situations. Please is a way of acknowledging that the person can choose not to do the thing. Saying it when someone offers you something is a way of acknowledging that they didn't have to, and that you appreciate that they did. Besides please and thank you, greeting people. Last time, my heart melted when seeing a little kid entering the public bus and joyfully greeting the driver. They return the shopping cart to the store or designated area. If you just leave a cart sit in a parking lot, then I assume you're an all-around shitty person. Standing up when meeting someone new. Their meat is tender and juicy. Years ago, as a father of a 5th grade boy, volunteered for field day at the end of the school year. Kids were playing kickball. Overweight girl was up to bat. I watched as some of the kids snickered, laughed and blatantly commented about the girl. Some kids are brutal. Anyway, the ball is rolled to her and she kicks away. She's running to first and there's my boy, running next to her, rooting her onto base without a fuck given about what the other kids were doing. I knew then that wifey and I had done something right. Was proud of him that day, am proud of him today. It was a good day. Their parents don't call rape 20 minutes of action. After using a public toilet, they care to clean the seat of any accidental spillages of shit or poop, so the next person has a clean slate to start with. Without a doubt foresight. Sure, a kid is great if they have manners. But you teach a kid to think about his actions before he does it and you've done well. Liked what you saw? Hit like, subscribe and the bell icon for more crazy Reddit content.